So yeah, let's jump quickly into favorite Bond teams, right? So in my case, I'm just gonna just run through. Well, it doesn't have to be a particular number for you guys, but I just picked 10, right, out of the amount that came out over the years, right? And this excludes the Craig films, right? Because I want to save those for the second the second part, basically, right? So let's run them through quickly in no particular order. Of course, the James Bond team from John Barry, that has to be up there. My favorite out of all of them, I should say, I'm just going chronologically, has to be Shirley Bassey's Goldfinger. Like the moment I heard that song, I fell instantly in love with it. Just the big brass and just
Yes.
how, you know, oh, that just how grandiose everything all feels now. Of course, Shirley's vocals are just on point. That He Loves Gold that ends the song. That's just the ending of that song. And just those drums in the end, that perfect,
Yeah.
perfection. I love that. Gives me chills every time I hear it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it just made for such a great team. I think, yeah, honestly, this is the best James Bond team ever, in my opinion, right? And by the way, the He Loves Gold part, I love how, even in Austin Powers, which of course is a homage to, the Bond films. There was that one, the last one, Austin Powers in Gold Member, right? So remember Gold Member, he said, I love gold, right? So that's basically a reference to, the final line of that song. It's one of those, oh yeah, that's actually true. I didn't know that. But yeah, I kind of figured it out myself, right?
I
Oh yeah,
remember her
speaking of
talking about having to, how she managed to pull that off and the amount of breath it took because they're in the room, if I'm remembering it right, they're in the room just kind of like doing their finger, telling her, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, because that gold had to stretch out for like, what, a minute and something, and then
about
it
that, yeah.
crescendoed. So I was like, yeah, boy, wow.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention today was another parody that came out actually before Austin Powers, I believe it was, called Spy Hard. I think it came out like a
Oh yeah,
year
that
before
was pretty
with
awesome.
Leslie Nielsen. Yeah, I dug that. That's one of my
And
favorite songs.
yeah,
Oh
when
yeah.
that song, the theme song for it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the that theme song is both a parody of Goldfinger and Thunderballer.
Yeah,
Especially like
yeah,
how they just stress on the last
awesome.
word, so it's like
Yeah,
Spy Hard, and then literally Weird Al's like
yeah.
head pops. You know what I mean? I just love that movie was just straight up hilarious, right? So just running through the list quickly, right? You Only Live Twice from Nancy Sinatra. Love this song. I mean, it's just this the instrumentation behind her vocals is just so lovely and gorgeous, and it's just such a beautiful song now. And I also love the little Asian inflections that they have in the music as well too. I mean, it's Nancy Sinatra. I mean, she just killed that song, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say what you want about the film. I mean, it's one of my guilty pleasures as far as the Sean Connery films go. But yeah, this song was just fantastic, right? I imagine this might be in your list too, Ricardo. Diamonds of Forever, Shirley Bassey again, or Bassey, right? I say Bassey, Bassey, whatever it is, right? Diamonds of Forever. We know it as the song that Kanye West sampled for Diamonds from Sierra Leone, right? And just made a great song out of it. I mean, we were just bumping that song back in 2005 or six or whenever the album
Right.
came out, right? But yeah, the song itself, though, like I just it's one of those things that you hear the rap version of it, and then you actually like hear it in the movie afterwards, like, oh, that's where it came from, right? And it was just again Shirley just doing her thing, just a great song, and she just have a way of closing off these songs so that forever and ever, and the way how she just kind of holds that note until it ends, brilliant. I love that, right? Um, Another favorite of mine, Live and Let Die, you know what I mean, from Paul McCartney and the band Wings, right?
Yeah.
It was just such a fun song, though. You could tell that Paul just had fun doing this. I love how the song kind of just ebbs and flows. So it has
Yes.
this calm period, but then when he says Live and Let Die, you hear that bang, bang, and then it just goes to that you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
just does all this ebb and flowing over the course of like what 2.5 or 3 minutes though. You know what I mean? It was just such a great song. And I would say as far as title sequences go, we haven't talked about title sequences. This have one of the most surreal opening title sequences in the franchise.
I
It's almost
love
like if
it.
you're watching a horror flick though. Now I love it too, but just the images, like these ghostly images of women and fire and skulls and stuff. But it works though because remember in the film they touch on voodoo and stuff like that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Running through, we have Nobody Does It Better from Carly Simon, The Spy Who Loved Me, right?
Nice.
This was one of
That
those
is
songs
a.
that I used to hear on Radio 97. You know what I mean? Now, this is
Oh,
a
they still
station
play it
that
on a
plays,
Sunday.
yeah, that plays all these classic love songs, right? And I would say,
Mhm.
yeah, they play a majority of these songs, these Bond themes as well too. But yeah, this one was just so mellow, but it's so laid back, and it was just a genuinely love song, and it's one of those songs that works in terms of like for me it's not the title theme of the song, but you hear the title itself, "The Spy Who Loved Me," actually is a lyric in the song itself, but
Mhm.
the song isn't building from the title of the movie. It's just a song, about just basically Kali just saying, "Hey, I mean, he does it the best, right?" Basically, you know what I mean. But song was great. The instrumentation, I absolutely
Right.
loved. Though, just it's such a great song, right?
It is impossible for me to not hear that song and not see a Union Jack parachute falling
Yes.
from the
Right.
sky at
Right.
the
I, I,
same
Yeah.
point in
I will talk
time.
Yeah.
about that. I'll talk
That
about that. Yes, yes, yes. Um, this one was interesting, right? Because, like I said, I got into the Timothy Dalton films fairly late, right? But in preparing for this episode here, I rewatched, The Living Daylights and License to Kill, right?
Mhm.
So I have the teams of both in my list. So The Living Daylights
Nice.
from Aha. No, just the music in particular and just the construction of the song is what I love though. The music in particular is such a earworm though for the Living Daylights, so it just sticks with you, especially that chorus though and how the horns come in, what I mean, after he sings the Living Daylights. I mean it fits it totally in terms of it's the mid to late 80s now. Let me just kind of use music of that time and bands of that time and make some great songs out of it. And I think that this song was great. I imagine this is probably one of the most underrated teams though, but I think it just works perfectly in terms of the aesthetic, right? And then one that I was reminded of, after watching License to Kill, the theme song itself, done by Gladys Knight though. And I love like how instrumentally you hear bits of Goldfinger. You hear that dun dun, you know what I mean? But it's just done in this late 80s soul R&B vibe, and then of course with Gladys Knight, you know what I mean? Just behind the mic though, it just works perfectly though. It's just like a great because as a song, this as a whole though, it just works as a great late 80s R&B joint. You know what I mean? It's just solid, right? And then, a song that you just forget was part of the movie as well too. Patti LaBelle, if you ask me too. I'm gonna add this as well too.
Right. Right.
And this played at the end of License to Kill. I'm like, wow, that was in this movie? Like I was shocked, huh? I was shocked that that particular song was in the movie now because fun fact, I actually heard this song a lot when I was growing up. Like I heard this on 97, 100 these stations because at the time it came out in 89. So literally when I was a kid, I was hearing this song on radio. See, this is how old I am, right? I heard this song on radio, right? You know what I mean? And it's just such a great song, though. The chorus is infectious. Patti LaBelle just kills this song lyrically. I just love it. And I just think that these two songs combined is just like a perfect, you know what I mean? This musical choices to open and close the film, right? So two more to go. We have Golden Eye from Tina Turner. This one really worked for me because it just felt like a contemporary version of like a Shirley BC or Bassy, whatever it is, a Shirley BC song, right? You'd be with the horns and just how audacious the music sounds. That da dun 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 dun, and it has this sort of sultriness as well too. It really reminds me of like 80s Tina Turner, right? Like stuff like Private Dance and stuff like that. So there was a sultriness as well too. And with Tina Turner, she just has the pipes too, and she just delivers it too. She gives you the sort of seductive vibe about it too, but then she'll just hit you with those high notes, especially near the end and during the chorus as well too. So yeah, just love that song. It was a great way just to hype up that movie, right? And last but not least, now in terms of the Pierce Brosnan stuff, I have to give it to Cheryl Crow, boy. Tomorrow Never Dies.
yes.
This music video was
Oh my
all over the
God,
Channel
yes.
4.
Right.
I just used to watch it every time it was on. That song is fan freaking tastic in my opinion. Though the instrumentation behind that, I keep saying instrumentation because yeah, the music is is the secret sauce to all this, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it just worked too. How Cheryl Crow went in on this, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. I even this little last thing is what I mentioned too. I even love that near the end, she doesn't repeat the title, because she says, "I see this in your eyes, tomorrow never dies," right? I just love that she ends the song with "I see this in your eyes" and just stops right there. I just let the music just ride out to the end. I just love that, right? So yeah, that had me like genuinely excited to see Tomorrow Never Dies, even though I'd have to wait a few years until it came out on cable for me to actually see. But yeah, I thought that Sheryl Crow just knocked it out of the park with that song. So Alice, if you don't mind just running through your list of favorite Bond themes.
Oh, well, I kind of ended up with 10 as well, too, coincidentally. Um, and yeah, we have very similar favorites. Well, I can tell you at the top of my list, which is actually my favorite one, is Diamonds Are Forever by Shirley
Okay.
Bassey.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
There is a way that when I hear that song, it just it gives me like chills, like excitement kind of thing. And there's a kind of sultry kind of sexiness to the whole thing, talking about diamonds. You know what I mean? It's it's just a song that I always associate with a certain type of feeling. So that's
Mm.
why it's my number one favorite Bond song of all time. Next on my list is "You Only Live Twice" by Nancy Sinatra as well. I
Nice,
agree
nice,
with you.
nice.
I really like the little Asian little tunes in the background, and Nancy really has some powerful vocals in that song. Even though coincidentally, and we get into it, it is in considered to be one of my worst Bond movies, but I like the
Okay.
song.
I,
Yeah,
I can understand. I can understand. Yeah.
yeah. The other one on my list is actually "For Your Eyes Only" by Sheena Easton.
Okay. For me personally,
Wow, yeah.
it fits in that whole, Radio 97 esque, Sunday music and
Mm-hmm.
all that too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just lyrically and sonically, it just doesn't click with me all that much though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's a nice song. It's a nice song. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. I don't know. As a little girl, like I knew it belongs to a Bond movie, but as a little girl, I was not yet allowed to watch a Bond movie, but I identify it with a Bond movie, and hearing it, also I really had a thing about Sheena Easton when I was a little girl too. I used to listen to all her songs as well. So,
Okay. Cool.
I just find like it it's kind of like one of the top romantic songs for me,
Oh,
and that's why I have an attraction to it.
Hmm.
And also it came out on the year I was born in 1981.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. License to Kill by Gladys Knight.
Ah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Again, one of my favorite songs. I listen to it over and over again, and Gladys's vocals, something else, really. And you're right, that R&B kind of soul inside it. It really is kind of like for the late 80s. It was really suitable, for the timeline.
Yes. Yes.
And
Totally agree.
yes, yes. Nobody does it better. The Spy Who Loved Me, Carly
Ah.
Simon.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yes. And Carly, in terms of singers from that era, her voice is a voice that is it's not only phenomenal, but it's unusual. You can't you can't mix her up with anybody else at all. You hear Carly open her mouth and sing, and that's Carly Simon. She just has that voice. Again, in terms of why I chose it again, I'm an old romantic at heart, and for me, it's a very romantic kind of song. You know,
Hmm.
very heroic. Um, Another one that you had as well too, Golden Eye, Tina Turner.
Ah. Yep. Yep.
Tina Turner is one of my favorite singers. So her vocals were just suited for the lyrics in this song. And not to mention, she looked very hot in the music video as well too.
Oh, she did. She did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very sexy. All Time High, which was from Octopussy,
Yes. Octopussy.
Rita Coolidge.
Yeah, I wanted to
Yes.
put this one, but this is a honorable mention for me, and I would say this is a guilty pleasure of the Roger Moore films, right?
Yeah.
I know if I watch it again, I'll kind of cringe at moments, but I think
Mm-hmm.
like that particular song helped, it helps set the mood in a sense. So I really
Yes.
really dug the song a lot.
Yes. Yes. Goldfinger, Shirley Bassey,
Uh huh.
again.
Uh huh.
Yes, yeah. Again, yes. That holding of that last note, I didn't realize, Trace, that she was meant to hold that note for so long. It is amazing. That's to show you her lung capacity. That's
Yes.
just wow. That lady has some lungs. Um, Tomorrow Never Dies, Sheryl Crow.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Hmm. Again, I really appreciated this is a fault that most of the Bond theme songs had, where you find that the particular sometimes it would be like the name of the movie would be repeated a lot during the film. So I did appreciate the fact that it was not repeated as much, which is why that other song is one of the most hated ones,
Uh
the
huh.
one that we mentioned. And my last one is Live and Let Die, Paul McCartney and the
Woo.
Wings. Yes. Um, Again, big up to Trinidad for the
Yeah,
actor,
yeah,
Jeffrey
Yeah, yeah.
Jeffrey.
Holder.
Jeffrey
Yeah.
Holder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
R.I.P. man.
Yes. And again, it has one of my most favorite actresses in the movie, Jane Seymour, making
Oh
Yes.
her
yes.
Yeah,
The
debut.
Dr. Quinn.
premiere. Yeah.
Dr. Quinn herself. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and she was had a little baby face, like a little doll in the movie.
I know,
And
right?
not to mention her kick-ass name Solitaire, because she deal with
Yes.
cards.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, those are my top Bond themes of all time. Of course, I love a lot of the other songs, but if I had to cut it down, these are my favorites.
All right.
Yep.
Ricardo, favorite Bond teams, no particular order.
Right. Well, I'll just cut down to five if it's anything, because I see the five I remember off the top of my head.
Fair enough.
And that stick with me.
Mm.
Number five would probably be Man with the Golden Gun. Um,
All right.
silly song, but I like
Oh,
it. Just
Lulu.
that them
Lulu.
trumpet.
That's my second. Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
second least favorite. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I just find
Yeah,
that she's just like explaining, oh,
right.
it's the man with the golden gun, and look out
Yeah,
for
yeah,
him
like
because
a
he's on the
story.
run
Yeah.
or whatever.
yeah. With the
Yeah,
golden shot. I like that. I like that
but the
dubstep.
music is addictive, right? I wouldn't
Right.
like it's
Yeah.
addictive. Yeah. Mhm.
Um. Yeah. Number four. The Living Daylights. Really catchy.
Nice. Mm.
It's very 80s, but it works.
But it's
That's the
great
time.
80s, huh?
Great 80s. It's good
Yeah.
80s. Number three, GoldenEye.
Nice, nice, nice.
Again, you can't go wrong with that GoldenEye thing. Number two, well, you call it yourself. Um, Diamonds Are Forever. Yeah, mostly
Uh huh.
because I can't use that's
Yep.
obvious. This one is tough, but I was in my head because I have a bunch of them that side of. But I'll have a honorable mention, two honorable mentions before we continue.
Sure.
The Living Daylights, pretty good. Um, opening one. I just mentioned that. Sorry, License to Kill.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh,
License
nice.
to
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, License to Kill. Sorry, and then if this is a Bond non-Bond song, Snake Eater. Snake Eater is the best non-Bond Bond song. Listen to it.
Oh,
It is an amazing Bond song.
I
Okay.
see what you
my
did there,
God.
Ricardo. Well played. Well played.
Yeah, all right. So number one, my number one Bond song, "Live and Let Die," Paul McCartney.
I
From
knew it.
start to finish, this works as a Bond song. So such a great track. Paul McCartney just bring the vocals. He makes it work. It builds really well. Yeah, there's a track I can just listen to. It is on the jogging cycle. That's how good it is.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a number one. Yeah.
All right. CC, what is your just quick list favorite Bond teams? No particular order.
Oh yeah. I mean, I did have like my top uh five, and I actually arranged these from like because like as I said, except for one, and I think we all have the same one. I never met a Bond theme I didn't like, but no, my favorite favorite five, but then first honorable mention for All Time High by Rita Coolidge, because it's the least Bond theme of any James Bond movie, I think, except for the one that's so much so it's bad. But it's such a chill track. Like I put on All
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having a chill, calm sort of day now. Okay, I'm just vibing. That's all that's happening. Like I do love that, but that's like honorable mention for But then like top 5, You Only Live Twice.
Mhm.
Such a like Nancy's. I do not understand why like Nancy Sinatra did not do at least. I mean, I know that they keep it fresh and they try to like mix it up so it's a bunch of other, it's different artists. But I could have listened to a whole album of like Nancy Sinatra songs inspired by James Bond themes, honestly, because like she's
Same,
perfect.
same.
She's
Yeah.
perfect. She's
It's funny. Come to think of it, that we don't get albums like that. Like an artist who does a theme does a full album. You know what I mean, for the movie. You only get like one song somewhere.
And I think it's because, I mean, and the people here who know Bond trivia more than I do could correct me if I'm completely off base. But from listening to Billie Eilish talking about No Time to Die, I think what happens is the score is composed, and then the composer meets up with whatever artist has been selected, and then they sit down and take the main theme, and from that they create the song, like the title song. Which is one of the reasons I love all the Bond themes, because they have this orchestral, they have this movie score sound to them. It's like you ever notice how the I Need a Hero from the finale from Shrek 2 sounds so big? Well, that's because they've taken I Need a Hero and they've added an orchestra and a choir behind it. And the Bond themes have a similar feel where they feel much bigger, and like their rhythms and like their movements are a lot more complex. And I feel like the artists they've picked to like collaborate to create Bond themes are like this random delightful grab bag, but I love them a bit. But like, so as I said, Only Live Twice, Thunderball, Tom Jones. Like I cannot think
Okay.
I cannot think of a more like archetypical, like before I'd ever seen a Bond film, I had listened to Thunderball and it kind of created, and like it was definitely like when I think about the things I like about Bond, I hear it in like Thunderball, especially like Tom Jones has that kind of voice where he can meet the like orchestral power. So like when there's like that theme starts with that like drum boom, and then the
Yeah.
horns come in, blah, da, 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 like, and then
Yeah, that's what I love. You hear bits of the original theme in it. That's what I love.
and then and Jones's voice is like on there with the instruments like going up and like punching, and like this powerful like his vocal power is on par with all the big instruments going on. So I love that. Live and Let Die, number 3, Paul McCartney and Wings. Bearing in mind that the theme songs often created because the musicians are working with the composers and they start off with the main theme, I'm just imagining Paul McCartney looking at this weird because like the main theme for Live and Let Die is so odd. Like it's such an odd Bond theme because it starts off with like the more conventional, and then there's the bits and then there's the chase scene parts of it where it ding, ding, ding. And so I'm imagining Paul McCartney looking at this weird ass piece of sheet music that's like all over the place, and then manages to create a theme that actually flows and laces and makes sense. And there's this, and it's serious and very Bond, and then occasionally sultry, but then also powerful and then playful, like very playful, and has pop, and it has this whole like feel to it. And I really, really love that about it. And then top 2, For Your Eyes Only, Sheena Easton. I adore that track so much. No, because like I love Easton in general. She's one of my favorite of Prince's proteges as far as like musicians go. And there's elements like Sheena Easton is the closest we could ever get to like, well, I mean, aside from the Batman soundtrack, but Sheena Easton is the closest we're ever going to get to like Prince doing a James Bond theme, is what I would argue.
Yes.
You hear that sultry, sexy, but also very like chill, calm, like very romantic feel to it, like that calm, romantic quality to it, which is the part of Bond that I feel like Bond at his worst misses for me, but at his best, I see it is that like Bond the romantic is something that I quite appreciate, and Sheena Easton's For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah, and she also has a little cutesy kind of little tilt to her voice. I don't know if you recognize it.
Oh yeah, it's really it's wonderful. It honestly is, and that and her song "Eternity" are 2 of my favorites from her for that reason. I think that whole album is great.
Yeah.
But and then finally, my absolute, and anyone who follows me on social media already knows this, but my favorite Bond theme of all time is "License to Kill" by Gladys Knight. That song, Like, and for me, it's just an absolute instant hype track whenever I listen to it. Like, it's first of all, I don't know why no one brought in Michael Kamen to compose a James Bond theme sooner. Like, you like
I know, right?
listening to the music for Lethal Weapon, you're like, how? Especially the
Yes.
Right.
especially
he,
since
he just has this way of doing dark orchestral music. And
yeah,
it just works in action films. I just hear it again in Lysical. I'm like, wow, this fits. This totally fits. Oh, and by the way, Lysical came out the same year as Lethal Weapon 2. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah, but
Yes, it did. That's true.
which is also like the best Lethal Weapon movie. But that's another discussion for another time. And like also I would also make the argument that the first Lethal Weapon, I would swear this is how he got the job, because the first Lethal Weapon also has the best not James Bond theme with the whole song Lethal Weapon by Eric Clapton based on like Michael Kamen's music. Like that song is brilliant, and it has that great like sultry Bond quality. But License to Kill is the kind of song that, like, I don't know, it makes you sit up, it gets your hype going, gets your heart rate up. It's like the vocals, there's a narrative to what's going on. Gladys Knight vocally is unmatched and has always been this absolute queen of a vocalist, and I love her so much. It's also the only Bond theme sung by a woman. Maybe there's a couple others you could argue the point, but it's the only Bond theme sung by a woman that feels like it's in character as Bond. Right? So like rather than like the singer is either observing Bond from like some distance or it's like a Bond girl talking about Bond. This feels like Bond himself, but like Gladys Knight performing the song like in character as Bond. And so there's this, and given where Bond is dramatically in License to Kill, and we'll get to that when we get to when we get to Bond, when we get to best and worst Bond movies and all that, and I will talk about License to Kill. I have a lot of thoughts, but given where Bond is dramatically, License to Kill fits, and it captures a lot of that like angry energy and that like destructive, like I am going to like someone's getting fucked up. I am here, like someone's gonna get fucked up. I'm out. I'm out on the I'm out. I'm on a streak. Like this is it's got that power. It's got that emergency. And then the vocal qualities just match that perfectly. No, License to Kill is, I think, aside from 2 Craig songs, the year I watched Bond, the year like last year after I marathon Bond, my Spotify Wrapped informed me that my top 3 most listened to tracks of 2020 were all Bond themes, and I was very upset at myself because I was like, oh, you traitor. But like, and the other 2 were Craig tracks, and then License to Kill, because License to Kill.
And last but not least, Tracy, your faves.
All right, so some of you have touched on a few that I quite like, but I'm going to throw in this one. I'm going to throw in Shirley Bassey's Moonraker, which is, I feel like everybody, it's one of those things like everybody goes off on Diamonds Are Forever, and they should, and everyone goes off on Goldfinger, and they should. But there is something, I mean, it's one of those things where the movie Moonraker, I have mixed thoughts about it, but I've always really and truly loved the idea of it. It's the, you know, where are you? Where do you hide? Just like the Moonraker goes in search of his dream of gold, I search for love, for someone to have and to hold. And there is something about how she brings that out. I don't know if that was like her last track. I don't know if I can't remember if like that was like, Shirley, could you come back in and just do this for us?
Yeah.
To Cece's
I
point,
think the reason why that song works though, because even though I'm not completely wowed by the song, I just kind of don't like the fact that they had to squeeze in Moonraker in the lyrics. That's just me. The music is just so pleasant, though, and just it just is euphoric. It's really really euphoric when you hear it, though. It's so oddly euphoric, though.
Now, here's the flip side to that. At the beginning of Moonraker, they have the slow, beautiful version. And then at the end of Moonraker, if I remember correctly, they tried to do this kind of disco remix type
Oh
of something
yeah,
to
I
it.
remember that.
And
Oh,
I
God.
remember thinking, what is this? But in terms of the actual song, there's a feeling that I can identify with, and I go nuts off of Moonraker in terms of that song of itself. Um, GoldenEye, definitely, yes. Live and Let Die is so there are songs. There are songs that when I'm playing it in whatever player that I have, whether it's on my phone or whatever it is like that, and I'm walking down the street, like my whole body does a thing. And Live and Let Die is one of those, because especially, I mean, and this is just like a quick personal insight for me. Like, I mean, like I'm in an industry where clients say things like, could you Photoshop the shadow behind the guy in the ad? And when you get stuff like that, there's something about, like, if you choose a track to listen to at that same point in time. And I remember there was a point in time in my life where I had that playing like forever. So I very much dig Live and Let Die, because sometimes you really just want to punch somebody in the middle when it goes into that. You really just wanna.
Yeah, that
That's
section actually makes for good,
that's
punching
some
people in the
good
face,
fight music.
moments.
That is some good fight music. So I live with that. I also very much agree with you all in terms of You Only Live Twice. Um, Fun thing, I love Nancy Sinatra. I love hearing this version, and well, this. And then I was going through my Bjork phase, and I say Bjork phase because I got involved with somebody and they kind of ruined Bjork for me. But I had a Bjork phase where Bjork played um, You Only Live Twice. And you know how Bjork's voice does this kind of break every glass in your house kind of octave. I love hearing that version as well as the Nancy Sinatra version. So yeah, there's that. To Cece's point, because I do think, yeah, he is right. They do have whoever is the composer. So yes, you have the front person. So like Sam or whoever is singing the song, but it usually is the composer having the thought and scribbling a thing, and then they decide who the artist is, and voila, we have a theme. So I have that. You Only Live Twice, Live and Let Die, Moonraker, GoldenEye, and my absolute favorite, which I admit I have sung off key quite a few times, is just randomly standing up in the kitchen and singing, Darling, I'm killed. I'm in a
Uh,
puddle on the
on the
floor,
floor,
waiting
waiting
for
for
you
you to
to
return.
return. Listen,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love that theme. I love that video. I love the cellos behind it. I love the violin behind it. I just love how that makes me feel. And I have like one or two. Carly Simons, Nobody Does It Better,
Nobody
Spy
does
Who
it
Loved
better.
Me. That is in my honorable mentions.
All right.
Because when I started to think about in terms of some of like the best themes and the worst themes, and y'all will kill me when we come to the worst themes. But when, like the thought that to try and make a short list, these are the ones that I like. And it's, from Moonraker, that really is, yes, it really is very, it kind of gives you a nice chill vibe. I really do like Moonraker all the way up to Live and Let Die and Tomorrow Never Dies, which I can, listen to forever and ever, and I'll be pretty much happy with that. Those are my favorite themes for Bond.
Okay. And we could all agree that the worst Bond team is Madonna's Dan and the Day.
It's
Yeah.
very weird to me. Like when that came out,
Yep.
I was on that hype train. I was there. I'm gonna live, nah, nah, nah. And I was there with it. And then, although I will admit, as much as it is not my favorite, there are moments where I just randomly sit down by my desk or something and just randomly shout out, Sigmund Freud, analyze this. And
Right.
I just, but it's not.
Okay. For me, part of the problem with Die Another Day is that it's also so bloody disappointing because like this was after Madonna had done the soundtrack for Dick Tracy, right?
It was
And-
years afterwards. Yeah.
And here's the thing: you'd think if you listen to the Dick Tracy soundtrack and some of Madonna's earlier work, that you're like,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah, especially Vogue though. Like Vogue is a classic actually.
and you'd be like, oh man, we need to get her to do a James Bond theme immediately. Like, absolutely, this woman was made to do James Bond. And then you listen to it and you're like, how did this go so wrong?
Yeah. For one thing though, I mean the decision to have her in autotune made no sense. It just made her vocal sound really
Horrible
idiotic,
idea.
robotic. Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah, rubbish.
Right. And then like when you see it in the movie though, and this is like one of the creative decisions. Like probably this is hands down the worst opening sequence, title sequence in any Bond film. You're basically showing Bond being tortured. I understand it's PG-13. You're working around it though. But I'm supposed to be excited for a Bond film, and I'm seeing him being tortured. And you're seeing all these random images of diamonds and water and fire.
I didn't think that was. I didn't think that was
water.
Scorpions.
I didn't think that was the
Nice.
worst idea. But the
Don't
scorpions
forget
is what like
Scorpion.
the
And
scorpions.
the
Right.
scorpions.
You didn't like the scorpions
which
dancing
never
in time?
comes back up.
Right.
Never
No.
came back up in the film. Yeah.
No, I was just saying if you all didn't like the scorpions dancing to the the tails of the scorpions actually dancing
Right.
in time.
I
with the
saw
music.
it.
yes.
was-
And Nunik.
That was too wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was so silly and ridiculous.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I understand it's the 2000s, so we have to sound like we're from the 2000s. But god damn, man, like it was a slap in the face, though, to to John Barry, who composed the score to begin with, the original team. It just felt like it was just an update in the absolute worst way, man. So yeah, without a doubt, man, the worst team song, right?